Welcome to the Bigger, Braver Life show, where leaders and high performers learn to rewire their minds, regulate their nervous systems, and rise into their next evolution. I'm Angela Williams, therapist, leadership coach, and your guide to living, leading, and creating from deep alignment. Because your bigger, braver life isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more of who you really are. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Bigger, Braver Life show. I'm excited to bring another guest into our podcast space. Her name is Kristin Chase, and she is an organizational development consultant, culture strategist, and executive coach with over 24 years of experience helping organizations and leaders thrive through growth and change. She partners with hospitality, entertainment, and nonprofit organizations to intentionally design, align, and activate their dream company culture and coach high potential and emerging executives to expand their impact and effectiveness. So, Kristen and I have recently met, and we have seen where our paths can intertwine. The work I'm doing with leaders is a lot more of the mental and emotional, the regulation, how to be a leader from within. And a lot of the work that she's doing is focused on culture. So, I'm really excited to hear about that, your experiences. And Kristen, do you want to share anything else about yourself and just share about your journey and what brought you here today?
Yes, thank you, Angela. I appreciate the time this afternoon to be here with you and with all of the listeners. So, yeah, the journey for me has been a ride, and that is a pun intended because I actually came from theme park and that whole world of destinations and experiences with Universal. So, those of you who are here in Orlando, Florida, which is where I'm based, will know Universal Orlando Resort very well. And then was with them for 22 years and led the organizational development team there as the senior director. Most recently, grew the team there from 3 to 15. So, know what it's like to work in a globalized organization with a hugely diverse set of employees, all the way from entertainers in the park to park services, cleaning up and attractions, loading you on the ride. So, all those operational team members to more traditional finance, corporate roles, marketing and sales, human resources, technical services, anywhere in between, you name it, we probably had it. Such a diverse group within that organization. So, such great learning, really focused on growing a culture to scale, right? And such that it isn't just an individual park and operating in an individual city and state, but it's actually a part of our overall destinations and experiences. So that was a lot of my role, was to design processes and tools around performance management and talent management, succession planning. How do we evaluate our leaders on what competencies and what skills, and how do we give them feedback along the way? How do they grow and develop and provide and develop experiences to allow leaders who've been with the company a long time to then become strategic executives, right? And shift that mindset as they grow as well. So, really developing the culture and then the leaders to go along with it. And so that was just a fantastic time. Also spent some time in government before that and this election and assessment area, looking to identify firefighters and corrections officers for those really intense roles, and working through the selection process of how do you find someone who's going to be successful in that type of a role with so much intensity. So now where I'm at is I'm excited to introduce Chase Talent Development. As you mentioned, I am an organizational development consultant and culture strategist, just about a little over 90 days into having my own business. So, welcoming myself to the world of being a solo entrepreneur and reaching out to you was such a pleasure, and learning from you in terms of how you've built your business. And like you said, looking for ways to partner with others out there to offer even more to clients out there, depending on the needs that they need. But certainly do love that service, hospitality, and entertainment industry. That's where my heart lies. Also, nonprofits love to give back in that space. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So
Thanks,
yeah.
Kristen. Yes, I have so many questions. I'm so excited for you to share more of your experience. And I think I really wanted to have you on for some of these deeper conversations with leaders that when you get to a certain level, you may not have as many peers in that space, right? Or you may not have as many mentors in that space or whatever that is. So I think like you are such a rich host of information and can share a lot with us. So I'm excited to dig in more in that today. Yes, we love our parks. I'm also based in Orlando, Florida, so we do love that. It's a big deal here. So I'd love to dig into your experience there. So can you tell me what it was like for you rising to the level that you rose to, being a female doing that, navigating all of those pieces?
Yeah, I just appreciate the fact that the organization that I was in was very welcoming and empowering, saying, if you have an idea, bring it up, not hierarchical, not there's a million layers you have to work through or a million offices you have to stop in before you can get something to get across the finish line. It really was, hey, if you have an idea and it's going to add value and you can share that, then let's do it. Let's try it. And my favorite word is a pilot. So if you pilot something, then you know you can try it before you officially have everybody buy it, right? So it's no harm, no foul there, but really was a great way to test and try out new and different things. And I think for myself, learning to leverage my team, really being able to move through that process of as the team grew, and really I was within the same team for really all of the time that I was at Universal, which is a unique thing, honestly, that a lot of folks move around. I found my love early on. My background is in IO psychology, and this was just a natural connection point to go into organizational development, which was part of the larger human resources team. And because it is about helping people engage and be at their best and be productive, but do that in a work setting, right? So that really was what drew me to this. And so I love the work and I love doing the work, but then I had to recognize I cannot do all the work either, right? There comes a point at which you have to say, okay, now I need to step into more of the ideation and the planning and the strategic thinking and the vision around what we want, for example, how we evaluate performance for leaders. What a concept, what a question, right? How do we do that? How often do we do it? What does that look like? How formal is it? Is it in a system? What is it based on? Is it based on goals that you set? Is it based on behaviors, competencies? For us, the answer was yes, both. It's very important what a leader does. At the end of the day, you're accountable for certain things. We want to evaluate that you on that, and then how you get that done, right? So the philosophy and the framework. So I guess I'd call it the architecture, right? Making the blueprint, outlining it, but not necessarily hammering the nails, putting up the boards, doing the work. Because at a certain point, you have to have your team do that because they're hungry to learn that. And so they want to get hands on. And then that frees your time up. So that was always a learning for me. Just it's like a blessing and a curse of, oh, the passion, you love the work, you've been trained to do it, and yet it's still connecting to the work. It's just doing it in a different way. And then where I found I really came into my own was stepping into the influence and the networking and the relationships with my peers and the rest of the organization because I was part of organizational development, OD. That's like a lesser known area of human resources, right? What is that? What does your team do? Is it training? Yeah, sometimes we might train people, but it's really about systems and processes and tools that help the entire organization grow and even looking at things like the design of the organization and how the leaders fit in and what are the things we evaluate people on. People have to design all of that. So there's that aspect. And so people have to they have to understand that. And how can that be helpful to them? So at the end of the day, especially during my time at Universal, I'm working very operational leaders. They are like ready to go. They're working hand in hand with their employees and just getting stuff done. Okay, why do I really need to think about or why do I really need to do these things? Sometimes there's some selling and some marketing that I had to do, right? Oh, why is it going to be beneficial for you to have a hard conversation to stop and pull your team member off the line and have a hard conversation with them because actually they do want feedback. And here's a way to do that in a very quick and easy targeted way, right? But
Mhm.
sometimes there was a little bit of sell and market and influence others to use the products and the tools and the services that we provided. So
And the education part, I think that's so key to get people on board. And true leadership, right, requires a little bit more than just showing up. And so I love that you shared it in that way. What were some of the challenges, maybe personally, that you had or in your growth journey there? And how'd you tackle that?
yeah, I think in terms of challenges, I think some of it was alluding with to what I was just talking about of the team and myself feeling like, hey, we have value to provide, but we can't always get to the right people in the right ways at the right time. And people are very busy, right? We love our HR business partners. We love them because we partner so closely with them. They're also extremely focused on serving the team members and the employees as they come in and have their days and experience that. So they aren't necessarily going to be always as equipped to say, hey, I'm ready to help launch and get people excited about taking the current employee survey that's out there and understand feedback, or hey, it's time to sit down and have a succession planning discussion. Sometimes they were, right? But I think sometimes it was just a matter of getting traction around that. And for me, again, passionate about the work, sometimes overly detailed, like too much info, whoa, or too polished even. Hey, we know you got it all figured out. You're coming in with a deck, but hey, here's where we're at, right? We're at step one, you're at step 10. So I definitely learned about audience awareness, right? And the fact that we had such a diverse client group that I worked with, the way that you connect and walk into a room of finance professionals is different than the way you walk into a room with entertainment professionals. It just is, right? There's a little bit of a different connection point that's going to make an impact with them. So, how they connect with the work that you do and understanding why it's important and why it's valuable to them, you're going to have to change what you deliver to them and how you deliver that. So, I think I definitely learned to adapt and adjust my communication along the way and just reduce the detail, reduce the formality sometimes. Hey, sometimes it's let's co-create it together. I have a couple ideas, but I want to make sure to hear from you all, right? And that's with my team as well. Because again, back to they're the ones again in there doing the work, getting the feedback. I want to hear from them. So finding ways to just step back and sometimes less is more. So that's definitely a learning I had along the way.
Yes, that's a really great point. That simplification is key. And I love the points that you talked about really being the bigger picture designer here, being the architect. When you get to a certain level as a leader, you can't do it all. You just don't have the energy, the capacity, the time. And so knowing when that is to hand off those tasks to other people and allowing them that opportunity, like you said, they're hungry, they want to grow, they want that experience. So definitely that balance. And I love that you touched on that. And I think the work that you do is so important. The organizational pieces where we're doing assessments, we're getting the feedback, we're trying to make it a better working environment for folks. I know that there can be some pushback with that, but it sounds like you were able to pick up on ways to get people involved and speak the language to make it make sense for folks to get on board. And I think that is so key as a leader in general, but especially for the work that you do. So thank you for sharing that. I have a couple more questions on along that line, but I do want to just say congratulations for coming on over to the entrepreneurial side, starting your own business. It is a wild ride, if I may say so myself, but welcome, welcome. And I am so excited for you. And we've had chats where I'm just excited to continue to learn about your progress. But a question with that too is what made you decide to jump to your own business now?
Yeah, so I really wanted to just take the fact that I've been able to work in so many different areas related to organizational development, dabble, a lot of little bits of everything, and seeing that across such a large organization that I now wanted to say, okay, how do I take this and figure out, number one, the work that I really want to do, right? Because I've spent a lot of time working on the priorities of many different leaders. And most of the time, I agreed with those priorities and thought they were very important. But there is something super empowering to say, you know what? you can decide the work you want to do and who you want to do it with. And the fact that I can get out there, and maybe there are some smaller to mid-sized organizations out there that perhaps haven't really thought through who they want to be when they grow up from a culture perspective, right? Do they have values? Do they have a purpose, mission, vision? Do they have a way to evaluate performance? Do they have a regular feedback mechanism? Have they thought about who their next level of leadership is? Maybe not, or maybe it's time to refresh that, right? So I think there's real opportunity that I saw to bring some of those skill sets into those size organizations, especially because they may not have large HR staffs. We know these days there's definitely an emphasis on being lean, being efficient, do more with less, and all of that. So I think that there are opportunities to create partnerships between, for example, if there's a company that has an HR person that wears a lot of hats, but that leader or a number of executives are saying, hey, we really want to take things to the next level and do an intentional project, they may need some support in that area. And so I love the idea and the challenge of walking into a fresh new client, having to learn the lay of the land, having to quickly understand what are their goals and add value for a specific set of time, hopefully set them up for success so that they're empowered to take all of that forward, but then also then I'm right on to the next new challenge. So it's a little bit of, I do love the variety, right? And so I'd love to have that experience with multiple clients, right? Multiple organizations, and then even do different types of work. So for example, coaching emerging executives is very meaningful to me, and I enjoy that work. I have gotten to do some of that work in the past, but want to make that a bigger part of what I do in the future. So, yeah, just the ability to do that, the freedom of my time, the freedom of having a choice of, do I need to do my proposal right now for someone, or get on a call, or get on a podcast, or nobody's telling me what I need to be doing for
That's the
my
truth.
hours in the day. Hey, it does. I will say it does take a lot of inner structure, a lot of kind of inner motivation and drive to get up and get focused on certain things. Hey, it's also nice to be able to run over to the grocery store when you need to too. So that's all.
100%. I'm totally with you. My one of my top values is freedom, and so that's why I'm here too. Freedom of being able to work where I want, with whom I want, charge what I want, all those different pieces. So, yes, very exciting. I'm very excited for you. I want to have a discussion about succession planning because I think that's so important and something that a lot of small business owners aren't really considering. As I recently have been having more conversations with folks, and I'd love to hear some thoughts on that from you, as well as what does that look like in a larger business? What does that look like in a corporation? Because I'm wondering, what are those differences? What are those similarities? But what should people also be thinking about and taking away from here to be thinking about their organization?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like succession planning is sometimes a process that maybe is only done at a certain level. So perhaps that's something that's a discussion that's been had about who's going to be the next CEO, or maybe the C-suite, and maybe it's only in discussion format. But there's ways that as an organization grows that you want to be capturing that information somewhere and really reflecting that back to the organization in a way that they can say, here's who we have. Look at our people, and really not just talk about immediate performance, which is part of it, right? Obviously, you want to be always evaluating performance, but really, who are the up and coming leaders? And taking that down a little bit deeper into the organization, that's something where I have a lot of experience to scale those processes beyond the executive level, and to include a review of down to at least your top level of maybe your senior manager or your manager level, your GMs, depending on the type of organization that you're in, and thinking about two things. One is, how are they currently performing? But what potential do they have to move up into higher levels in the organization or into other positions? This is another opportunity to broaden thinking, to say, what lateral moves, what skill sets are we able to say, yes, you're a leader in, I don't know, we'll say attractions right now, but wouldn't it be great if you gained experience in all of the different areas of the operation of the theme park, let's just say, or any other part of an operational business, such that we could, then you're a utility player, right? Then we can move you around, and that might open up somebody's career interests. So for me, I think potential is like the differentiator. If you start to have those conversations, then you can plan ahead. And this is really a business challenge because we know people leave organizations, right? And usually what happens when people leave, especially leaders in critical roles, is we're scrambling, right? We're like, oh my God. And you think, I don't know if we have the skill set. And then you go straight to hire from the outside. But there could be people right there waiting in the wings, and they're seeking that growth. We read our employee surveys. We ask people, what do they want? They say, hey, I want opportunities. I want to grow. I don't want to stay stagnant. So having a succession plan is really the right thing to do on two fronts: to be prepared when people do leave, because inevitably that can happen, but also to fulfill the promise that we want to give our employees to say, hey, you have potential to grow here as well. So I think the definition of what does potential look like, obviously that's a great conversation to have, to get really clear about that for your own organization. But I think there's an aspect of aspiration. So really wanting, do they even want to move from where they're at? Some people may say, hey, I'm great where I'm at. They may not want that. They have a sense of engagement that they have and capability that they can do that work. They're demonstrating capabilities, and sometimes you might have to give them some stretch projects and some stretch tests to say, hey, let me throw you this. It's a little outside your comfort zone, but I'm doing this because we want to grow you. If you need help, I'm here for you. But this is going to be an opportunity where we're going to give you feedback and let you grow. Really making sure that they have the capability, that they have the skills, that they want that, and that they can pivot a bit from a mindset perspective. Back to what we were talking before about, as you evolve, they're going to need to do different things in different ways. So it doesn't necessarily mean if you've always done the work and done amazing at it that you're going to be successful at that next level, right? Because you're going to be asked to do different things. So I think even just starting that conversation with your leadership team is really important. What does potential look like for us? How would we know? What are the most important criteria for our leaders? And just capturing that somewhere for a team. It could be for, maybe you start, as I said, with a pilot in just one part of the organization, one team, one group. Let's talk about all managers and above. How are they performing? What capability do they have to move, to what roles, and in what time frame? How ready are they? And just capture that somewhere, whatever's easiest for you, right? I've been through the days of, I think I did succession planning certainly on paper, then Excel, access databases. Boy, this is going to date me now. I don't even know if those are in use. I think we did it in an access database. And of course, then onto online systems and tools as well. But don't feel like you have to have a tool to do it either, right? It can be something that you capture in a simple way. A good tool is what they call a 9 block, which is just lays out, right? Your performance is on kind of the bottom, and your potential is top to bottom. And you have the 9 boxes so that you can say, hey, these are people that are really in your upper three, like we call them the green boxes, or like the high potential, high performing leaders, right? Those are the people that we want to do something about. You don't want to just write their names in there and then not doing anything about it either. Okay, and then we come back in 6 months or in a year and say, are these people even still with us, or what have we done about it? Have we helped them to really grow and develop? If they're ready for a promotion or ready for a move, what do we need to do to make it happen? Or what do they still need to do to develop? Or if there are performance challenges or issues that people are having, this helps us surface these kind of conversations too. Yeah. So
Yeah, thank you. No, I love that. First of all, that you brought this from your lens, working in larger organizations, because in the entrepreneur world, it's a lot of different size companies and businesses. I've even recently started thinking about what does exit planning, I guess in my case, look like for me as a currently solo member of this business that I've got over here. I think that's great that you're able to speak to that at scale. And thank you for offering some of those tangible tools people can take away right now to start having these conversations. But I really do advocate that anyone, no matter what size their business is, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, right? Start looking at how can I be ready for the next step when I want to retire or when a very key leadership person position leaves, right? So we're not scrambling. So we do have an easy transition for that next step. So thank you. That's so helpful. All right. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask you a question more so related to the mental emotional pieces. So I like to ask leaders, has there been a challenge with stress or burnout or just a leadership challenge that you've had to overcome? And how do you take care of yourself? Or how did you and how do you take care of yourself in these roles?
Yeah. I think for me, one of the biggest things is that I have what's called a bias for action. So I like to do stuff, right? And to take action and make things happen. And so I do that in my personal life and I do that at work. And so I think that I've been able to take the lessons of realizing that I don't always have to be doing a task or a thing to really be doing something, right? To really be actually accomplishing what it is that I need to accomplish. Doing could be not doing, right? Allowing yourself space and time is so important to be able to show up effectively. And so I think that's a lesson that I continue to learn is that it's almost easy to if an object is in motion, it tends to stay in motion, right? It's like the scientific principle. So that tends to apply, right? Especially for me, like I don't tend to sit down. As long as I sit down, I'm good. I can keep going, right? Just don't sit down. But in actuality, I need to sit down, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and when you do sit and you find a space for reflection, you can recollect what's happened. You can just get yourself back together. You can have the moment. It doesn't really have to be long either, right? I think even just, hey, I don't have time to sit down. How do you build in those moments? Can you not book your calendar completely back to back? Do you book the 10 minutes? And I've seen people like actually set their Outlook so that it ends at the 50-minute mark and not the on the 1 hour. So they try to build in a rigor of stand up, move around, talk to people, have a moment, right? Whether it's small mini breaks. And I know that has been helpful building walk time, just building calendar space. When it sounds crazy, I got to plan my rest. Yeah, I do. Like,
We plan everything else. Why not planning our rest and self-care?
yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's a lot of the work that I do with my clients too, is we work on what are the beliefs that are pushing me to move when I need to be sitting down, when I need to have that time to reintegrate everything, to reflect and breathe and takes time for myself. So we're doing a lot of that work. I'm so glad you brought that up because I do think I just got off a call with a client and we just talked about it. Oh, we called it the moving the goalpost scenario, right? Where it's like we're going, we achieve the thing. Okay, next thing. It's like I might say good job, I might not. I'm just keeping moving on. So we really dig into that. So thank you for sharing that. It's really about taking the time, balancing the action and the being, and that's going to be for the best results. So thank you so much for that. I'd love for you to tell us about the freebie that you're going to give us and where folks can reach you.
Yes. Best thing to do would be to check out my website, which is www.chasetd.com. And I do have, for those of you who are thinking about the culture of your organization and wanting to do a little bit of a diagnostic or discovery for yourself, you can find that there's a little culture checklist on there that you can go through, and it'll help you to think about where you're at in various areas that have a strong impact on culture and kind of say, hey, maybe I have some wins in this area. I'm doing good. Maybe here, maybe there's some real opportunity for us to spend some time, whether it's for you, your team, yourself, or your organization. Yeah, website is best. And then secondarily, LinkedIn. If you're on there, you can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll have all of that information in the show notes for everybody. Thank you again, Kristen. We could probably talk for hours and hours, but we do not have hours and hours right now to talk. But it's been so helpful and informational having you on, and I'm so excited for you.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Alrighty. For everybody listening, we will catch you in the next episode. You're not here for surface level success. You're here to expand. Visit angelamaria.co, where you'll find retreats, private coaching, and resources to expand your capacity and lead with calm, clarity, and authority. If this conversation moved you, make sure to share it with a leader who's ready for more.